Fever is regarded to be a bad thing, but actually is a good thing. You want to have fever because fever is nothing but a manifestation of your immunity. It shows that your immune cells are properly working. Literally, chemicals that are released by immune cells when they are stimulated in their receptors in the surface of the cells, or like some sort of antennas that are expressed in the surface of the cell. So they start secreting in the bloodstream these pyrogenic factors like TNF or IL-1, IL-6. When I say IL, I'm talking about interleukin. It's a type of chemical. They stimulate the endothelial cells there. Again, the cells that compose the walls of the blood vessels. And these cells will release in the tissues of the brains some factors that are also pyrogenic factors called prostaglandins. So what is a pyrogenic factor? The term means a substance or factor that produces heat. So in the brain, these prostaglandins will start stimulating the neurons of the hypothalamus, which is also a subcomponent of the brain, a small area in the center of our brain that activates the production of heat, primarily by activating the shivering reaction in the skeletal muscles or heat production in the brown adipose tissue, which is the BAT, so to speak, and that will affect also the heat dissipation by vasoconstriction in the periphery of our body. So all of this together contributes to a rise in the temperature levels in our body. And why? Why this is so important? Why we need fever? Why we need to increase temperature? And it's simply because some chemical reactions in our body, they need a certain optimal temperature to happen, right? These are basic principles of physical chemistry, chemical reactions that need higher potential energy to start. They are called exothermic reactions. So, in fact, an elevated body temperature triggers cellular mechanisms that ensure that the immune system takes appropriate action against the attacking virus or the attacking bacteria, because it will put your metabolism in an optimal temperature to start specific chemical reactions that only work in a higher energy potential. And these reactions are so important, for example, to synthesize interleukins that are secreted in the body and even toxins produced by T lymphocytes or CD8 cells that secrete these toxins that are called granzyme B, perforin, granzyme H, and so forth. So we need to achieve a certain basal level of temperature to allow these chemical reactions to happen. Small temperature increases, specifically at the early stages of the infection, they can dramatically change the dynamics of one core pathway in the immune response, which is called the NF-kappa beta, right? So the NF-kappa beta is a core gene expression program that ultimately results in the production of cytokines, and cytokines are fundamentally important to orient the pattern of immune response that will fight that particular infection in a short period of time. And for your information, this genetic program of the immune cells that guides the immune response is more effective against infection with viruses. So overall, these results suggest that temperature increases to regulate inflammatory response through a gene expression program that impacts several downstream functions of our inflammation. So it's very important to inflate, to have inflammatory process, right? And this will ultimately wipe out the pathogen in the infected tissue. Obviously, inflammation has a limit, and if you don't have enough immune cells at the beginning of the infection process, and there's a lot of virus out there or bacteria, they superactivate the local immune cells there, which will ultimately cause superactivation of fever and the central nervous system, and the inflammation loses control, or the temperatures, they will rise so much. And remember that we are all constituted by proteins, and one way of destroying proteins in our body is roughly to constantly expose to high temperatures and for long periods or days. So then in this setting, you want to reduce inflammation, you want to reduce fever to an optimal and effective level. Then antipyrogenic drugs such as aspirin, for example, are useful because they block the formation of those prostaglandins that will activate the hypothalamus in the brains. So you want to stimulate the muscles or adipocytes or even induce vasoconstriction to the degree that the temperature will increase too much.